this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to compare the Corsair M65 RGB Ultra Wireless with the Logitech G502 Lightspeed. Now these are two comparable mice for a number of different reasons. They're both wireless, they both have an interesting shape that includes that thumb rest on the side and a number of side buttons. They both have an insane DPI level, they're both weight adjustable, and they're both good looking mice with a number of highlights. They're also two of my favourite mice, being that they're comfortable to use, really easy on the eye, and incredibly feature rich. Now as I go through this versus video, you will notice a number of differences between both these mice that make them interesting in their own little ways. The G502 Lightspeed, for example, has a really angry look and feel to it. It also has more buttons than the M65 RGB Ultra Wireless. However, the Corsair mouse also has both Bluetooth and slipstream wireless connectivity and up to a 2000 Hz polling rate, so it has a number of hidden features underneath. Now I have reviewed and unboxed both these mice separately, so I'll link to those videos in the description so you can check it out, find out more and get a look at the software. But here I'm going to talk to you about the features, the things I like and don't like about these mice. I recently said in the M65 RGB Ultra Wireless review, this might be my new favourite mouse, with one caveat in that it's a touch too small. The G502 by comparison is a slight bit larger, as you'll see them side by side a bit later on. They're also both very comfortable thanks to that thumb rest and the overall design with a nice grippy texture on them. Now, in an era of super ultra lightweight mice, both these mice are weightier. The Logitech G502 Lightspeed, for example, weighs up to 114 grams, and then you get 16 extra grams of weights included in the box, as you can see there, and I'll show you how to install them later on. Whereas the Corsair mouse is 110 grams without the weights, and then you have the additional extra weights that you can add in, making it up to 128 grams. And you'll see you have little black weights that you put in there, and then the silver plates on top, or you can just use the silver plates. So you have a choice of not only where to install and how many to install, and you can also adjust the weight levels, which makes it interesting and certainly a highlight to it. The G502 Lightspeed has a couple of different housings on the underside for installing the weight system there. You'll note some nice slick feet on the underside, and then you have a little dock system where you can not only dock the USB dongle under there, but you can also then install the weights. So the 4-gram weights go into the round plate here, and obviously you have a choice of how many you install. You can install 2 here, you don't have to install them obviously, and you can obviously then customize the fit the way you want it. The 2-gram weights, the smaller ones, then go in the middle on that shell there. On the underside, you'll also see the button to turn it on and off. As I said, this is a wireless mouse powered by Logitech's wireless system. It also is worth noting that the charge on this mouse works with Logitech's power play system, which means that you can, if you have one of those powered mouse mats, essentially keep this mouse running for a lot longer and with no need to plug it in. If you don't have one of those, then it defaults up to 48 hours with the RGB lighting on, or 60 hours with it off. The M65 RGB Ultra has a more capable battery system. It's able to last longer, especially if you're using it on Bluetooth. So this mouse has both Bluetooth and slipstream wireless connectivity, and on Bluetooth it can get up to 120 hours of battery life. Obviously less if you're using it on slipstream wireless, but you do have the benefit of an ultra low latency, less than 1 millisecond transmission speed, and 2000 Hz polling rate as well. So you have a number of other spec highlights there. When we're talking about specs, also there are other areas where the Corsair mouse shines. This has 50G acceleration, 650 IPS tracking speed, versus the 400 IPS and 40 Gs on the G502 Lightspeed. So it's worth noting that that mouse also has 1000 Hz polling rate. So hidden away under the surface, the M65 RGB Ultra has a better spec lineup. You will see, as I said, it is a little small in the hand though, which I think is a shame. It's designed for claw grip setup, and for me it's not quite as comfortable because I prefer a palm grip. However, it is still one of the nicest mice that I've tried. It's nice and weighty, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people obviously are going to prefer ultra lightweight mice, and I've reviewed a lot and like a lot of ultra lightweights as well. But this thing feels really premium. You're paying quite a lot of money for it, and you're getting a very premium device as a result. One thing that does let it down, in my opinion, is that Corsair's included a rubberized USB-C cable, which isn't particularly lightweight or snazzy in any way, so it's a bit of a letdown on what is otherwise a wonderful mouse. A lot of other mice obviously have a fancy cable. This one isn't particularly fancy. However, you will be using it in wireless most of the time, and it does have a good battery life, so it does keep going and going, which is obviously a benefit. And also, obviously, with a USB-C connection, it's a lot easier to plug and unplug when you need to, which makes life a lot simpler. The G502 Lightspeed, meanwhile, has a micro USB connection, which obviously is a bit dated now and a lot of people will not like. However, it is fairly easy to plug and play. You also have this little extension dongle, so you can plug the USB wireless dongle into this extender and plug your micro USB cable into that, have it close to you on the desk. This means that you can not only get a strong signal within a good range of the mouse if your PC is on the floor or further away from the mouse than you'd like, for example, but it also means that you have easy access to it, so you can unplug this setup and plug the mouse in should you need to, and that makes things a bit simpler. It also means you only need to use one port on your PC, so if you don't have loads of USB ports, that's an obvious benefit of that. Micro USB is a little bit more fiddly to plug in, and obviously with less battery life, the G502 theoretically requires to be plugged in more often depending on how much RGB lighting you have. However, as I said, you can use Logitech's PowerPlay system, their powered mouse mat, to ensure that it basically never needs plugging in and you just keep going and going. So that is really awesome. Now, both mice have an incredible high DPI level. The Corsair M65 RGB Ultra, for example, goes up to 26,000 DPI, and the G502 manages 25,000. So they both have really good sensors and a good range of DPI levels. What you will notice is both mice also have adjustable DPI, so you can change the DPI levels with buttons on the mouse as well. The thing with the G502 Lightspeed that makes it better, in my opinion, is the sheer number of buttons. You'll see there are a lot more buttons going on with the G502. There are multiple side buttons, buttons on the top near the left button. You also have left and right click with the mouse wheel, so you have the potential to program in a lot more buttons and a lot more actions. There are 11 buttons programmable in here, and you also obviously can adjust the DPI level on the fly, and you can set up all sorts of things to access the way you want it to. I also prefer the size of the G502. However, as you will see a bit later on, the M65 RGB Ultra might be a bit more premium. However, what it doesn't have is this infinite spinning wheel that the G502 Lightspeed does. So this mouse has a little button on top that you can press, and when you press that, it then puts the mouse wheel into basically an infinite spin, so it just spins without any feedback, and you can obviously use that to your advantage in various different ways. Or you can press it again and then you do get a feedback out of it. So that's pretty interesting setup and unusual, and not something I've seen replicated anywhere else yet. The M65 RGB Ultra has 8 programmable buttons. It is set up with a zero gap design. Both these mice have Omron switches. The M65 has optical Omron switches, and it is designed with a zero gap design, which means the buttons and the switch housing are very close together. So when you press the buttons, you get a very fast actuation. One of the things I noted in the review of this mouse is that the click response from the left and right buttons is really satisfying, but it also has a metallic ping to it, which is quite unusual. Not something I've heard with other things. I do feel like this mouse has a really good premium finish to it, and considering the amount of money you're paying, that's a nice bonus. You'll see there are DPI buttons behind the mouse wheel, and there's a little LED indicator to let you know what level of DPI you're currently on. So you can see that within Corsair's IQ software and set it up so that you have an instant glance at what level you're on and which one you switch to. So it's really easy to know and to be able to adjust that. On the side, you'll see a large red MARKSMAN button. This is a sniper button that allows the mouse to drop into a low DPI level So for really accurate movement and sniping actions within FPS games, both mice actually have this sniper button. So that's one of the reasons that I'm comparing them and makes them interesting. What you'll see is it's really good position and nice and large too. I didn't find it accidentally activate it during play. Now, one of the things I will note is that the M65's thumb rest is a touch small for me. And as I said, the mouse overall is a bit on the small side, in my opinion, which makes it a bit of a shame. Now you'll see some clips of the two mice side by side, and you'll see some of the size difference and just the shape. Obviously, the G502 Lightspeed is a bit more angry looking. It has a larger thumb rest. It is slightly taller and slightly longer. There's not much in it, but I do feel like the G502 is a better fit and more comfortable because of it. Also have a lot more access to a lot more buttons. You'll note both of them have a very textured side grip action on them, so they're both a good comfortable fit in the hand. Now, one of the interesting things that I noted when actually comparing these side by side, and in this clip you might hear some of that, is there is a bit of a rattle in the G502. It does make some noise when shaken about. And this speaks again to the premium nature of the design. I feel like with the aluminium finish on the M65 RGB Ultra, that it is a bit more solid. It feels a bit weightier and more premium. Obviously, they're both weighted mice, so they're both quite heavy. They're not lightweight, so you do feel like you're getting what you're paying for here with a good solid build quality and nice overall design. But the M65 just feels less rattly, I think would be the best way of describing it, and less hollow. However, the G502 is still a fantastic mouse, and as you'll see, a little bit larger, so a nicer fit. These various different angles, you can see the different highlights of the two mice, the grippy texture on either side, the easy access, multiple buttons for access on the G502. It's really nice to have those buttons on the side of the left mouse button as well. So you've got some really simple and easy access buttons for a multitude of different things there. Obviously, you can program them all within their software and set them up to do all sorts of things in game, which is nice. And it gives you a lot more flexibility. The M65 has more buttons than most other mice though, and is a wonderful offering. Now I'm going to be quiet so that you can hear them on the mouse mat and hear the noises that I was talking about. So there you have it, two fantastic mice, really nice looking, with similar specs and a good setup. The M65 is my favourite out of the two, but only marginally, and I would say I do prefer the G502 for its size and shape, and obviously the sheer number of buttons on it. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting, hilarious, or otherwise. Take a look at these other videos that I think you might find interesting as well. And have a look at the description for links and other information you might find useful. Click that join button to see the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. And most importantly, have a great life.